Timestamps can be found in the description.
Well, that was agonizing. Never have I sat through a film completely despising the main character. Welcome back, everybody. Today we'll be talking about Dashcam. Dashcam comes from the same director as Host, which we covered last year or the year before. Now, I personally really enjoyed Host. Some others didn't, and that's completely fine. Let's talk about Dashcam, though. Before going into what this film's actually about, I just want to lead with the fact that you just can't put the camera on somebody that unlikable for that amount of time. Gosh, how do I put I want to make this nice because some of the things that they do in it are excellent. Let's just talk about it. Dashcam is a film about two friends embarking on a horror-fueled road trip and live stream the most terrifying night of their lives. Yeah, okay. Once again, let's just knock this right at the gate. Since this is from the same director as Host, I also got a little bit of extra like behind the scenes stuff. When he made Host, he wanted it to be almost the yin to Host to be Dashcam's yang. You know, yin yang, whatever. The other counterbalance of this film is supposed to be Host. What I mean by this is the fact that in Host, everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing during the pandemic and staying inside, following the laws and all that stuff, and horror finds them there. This is the extreme other to a degree that doesn't make any sense. No one talks the way she talks. And that's what bothers the ever-living shit out of me. Since this is the counterbalance to Host, that means that this film has to follow somebody that's breaking every pandemic law known to man. She's going to be anti-mask, she's going to be anti-vax, she's going to want to drive around anywhere she can and be out of the house, blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. What the fuck did you put in front of me? I understand that she's live streaming, she's probably having to put forth some sort of other version of herself to appease some audience, but fuck, do some sort of explanation. Show. Okay. Just all right. We're going to Wikipedia. We're going to talk about it paragraph by paragraph really quickly. Annie Hardy is a right-wing internet personality who live streams out of her car, making music and using her viewers' comments as lyrics. Tired of COVID-19 restriction and homelessness in Los Angeles, Annie books a flight to London where she pays a visit to her former bandmate Stretch, who now works as a delivery driver, and his girlfriend Gemma's house. Although Stretch is initially pleased to reunite with Anne, Gemma quickly clashes with her over their views on COVID-19 and politics. Annie accompanies Stretch out on his delivery, where she frustrates Stretch and antagonizes restaurant owners with her anti-mask views. I'm gonna put it as nicely as I fucking can here. This is a movie that could be cut in half and the score would blow it out of the fucking water. This movie's first 30 to 45, how long is Dashcam? It's 76 minutes long, which means probably around 38 minutes is when you can actually start watching this film, because they make the protagonist of the movie fucking hateable. So fucking hateable. Like, I don't swear this often, but no one talks like this. If they would have given her any sort of change or chance to show that she's putting on an act for her viewers, everything would make so much more sense. But she acts like someone who shouldn't be allowed to live by themselves. How she talks to people is insane. Her live stream that she's running out of her car is called, like, I can't think of what it's called, but either way, she like it said, she's rapping to music that she's making in her car to people's comments on her live stream, and it's just gross to be gross, and her shit talking anything that she can in any moment for a long amount of time. All right, so eventually Stretch has to go. And by the way, she doesn't just go visit Stretch. And it also says homelessness. She's tired of the homelessness in LA. She lives in a house with a cat and leaves, and not telling anyone that she has anyone to watch it, doesn't matter. It's just a little side thing that kind of annoyed me. But she doesn't just visit Stretch, she breaks into his house. She gets on a plane, flies to London, looks for a spare key, breaks into the guy's house, slaps him awake. She spit in her hand and slapped him in the face because they used to be bandmates, and that's apparently how you greet each other. She accompanied Stretch to one delivery, or a couple of deliveries, and she refuses to put a mask on, and then acts like a teetotal asshole in front of God and everybody, like just talking shit for a long amount of time. They get back, and his girlfriend finds her MAGA hat, which doesn't fucking, like, she literally, like, attacks her, which is weird. Maybe she saw in the live stream that she almost cost Stretch his job, which is not fine. That's not what I was saying. Which would make more sense, but I would have needed to hear her say something except for slapping her because of a hat. Like, I need to know, before I fucking hear anything else about it, I know the hat means more than just a hat. It means the social media, blah, 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 blah. I needed an explanation of to how someone can act like this and still be alive. Next paragraph. Returning home, a furious Gemma attacks Anne. Anne later overhears Gemma forcing Stretch to kick her out. In response, Anne steals Stretch's car and phone before deciding to take a delivery for him, intending to eat it herself. When she arrives at the restaurant, Anne is surprised to find it abandoned before she encounters the owner, who offers Anne a large amount of money to transport a frail old woman named Angela to an undisclosed location. Annie reluctantly accepts the offer and begins driving with Angela while live streaming everything to her fans. Angela defecates herself, forcing the pair to stop at a diner. While cleaning Angela, Annie is surprised to discover an Ariana Grande tattoo on her stomach. A woman soon enters the diner looking for Angela and attacks Annie. Annie fends her off and witnesses Angela exhibiting strange powers before fleeing back into the car. I jumped a little bit ahead. Gemma beats the breaks off of Annie, and her response is to kind of shit talk to her fans, saying that she's, and this is a quote from the movie, fucking sensitive libtard, as she's reaching in to take their keys, to take their car, to just drive off. What do you mean? No one acts like this. This is not a human being. She immediately is like, yeah, I'm going to go deliver this food, aka I'm going to go sign in for it and eat whatever they ordered. She goes in, and this is where the movie actually begins to do something that's not just hate my main character. It's just so long to get to it. Like, if I ever recommended this to a friend, I would say start at 40 minutes and have a good 30-minute scare. Anne gets to this diner. It's completely empty. She's still in it. She still keeps walking around through it and tries to eat any food she can find. Anyways, old lady comes up. An older woman walks up to her and says, hey, I need you, I should have canceled that order. Would you mind? I'll pay you a lot of money if you can take this woman to this location. And that's great. I mean, that's a good plot hook. And the fact that she brings out a bag of money, immediately she signs off for it. By the way, Anne Hardy is her real name. I just realized that. I just saw Anne Hardy played by Anne Hardy, and that sounds like a horrible mistake. They just do a gross scene to try to make you uncomfortable in it. Where there's, she's in the back of the car and she's trying to rap. She's just going. The woman is an older African American woman with gray hair and a white mask over her face. And as the tracks keep going, she keeps trying to rap with anything that her live stream keeps sending her. She smells something, and it turns out that Angela has crapped herself. She takes her into another diner. She asks the owner if they can use the bathroom. He says yes, and she runs her in there. It's there when she finds out she has an Ariana Grande tattoo, which is really strange for an old woman to get, but you know, maybe she's a really big fan. I don't get it. So that's the first kind of strange thing you see about this woman. As soon after, a woman enters and pretty much tackles the main character, Annie, asking where she went, where is she, blah, 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 blah. She finally finds Angela and kind of tries to embrace her, and she is thrown from this old, frail woman into a wall. All right. You can tell that professional cameramen didn't really run a lot of this film because when there's a scuffle, the camera is just everywhere. And I love found flicks, so this should not be a problem for me. But it is jarring. Makes me want to throw up. It is so much just motion and shake, and it feels like you're being scraped against the ground a lot of the time. Next paragraph. Stretch, having tracked Annie down via the live stream, forces his way into the car where they, both unnerved by Angela suddenly appearing inside. As they drive away, Stretch and Annie get into an argument before pulling over. Angela vanishes and Stretch ventures into the nearby forest to find her. He soon finds her standing atop a tree and falls trying to reach her, after which Angela floats to the ground. The woman who attacked Annie returns with a shotgun, attempts to kill Annie and Stretch. They escape her and return to the car with Angela. As they drive away, Annie discovers that Angela's mouth has been stapled shut. Angela rips the staples off and attempts to bite Annie, distracting Stretch, who crashes into another car, killing two newlyweds inside. Stretch finds Annie. Annie wonders how he found her. He shows the live stream that's been going on the entire time. She's, oh, right. And still talks like she's in the right for taking his vehicle, which makes no sense at all. While they're out and about arguing, you see Angela in the back seat for a long amount of time. She sits, she waits, and she's just kind of rocking back and forth like an older woman would. She looks and makes eye contact with the camera. You're getting to see a lot of the live stream chats that kind of just run by as her white little mask begins to fill with blood. And that's when they eventually goes from that position to cars passing by. Then they do a great job with blinding the camera with headlights to where she's here, and then suddenly she's gone. And they immediately are running after her through the woods, trying to figure out where she went, when they hear a shotgun go off, which is great, a little quick jump scare. And they begin to run away from the woman who now is the woman that found her in the bar earlier, or the diner earlier, chasing them down through the woods. One of the best scares in the film involves Stretch hunting down Angela, because he's running, and he finally feels like he gets tired, falls down, and suddenly a drop of blood falls on him, which is always like a horror movie classic, and that's fine. But he looks up to see an 80-plus-year-old woman standing straight up in a tree about 40 feet in the air, just standing there. Being a normal human being and being written as a normal person, not an extreme right-wing mental case, he runs to the car and waits. And if I were him, I would have drove off. But you're seeing that he's looking at the chat, and the chat's calling him all kinds of names, horrible words, and on and on and on, calling him a coward. So he rushes back to try to save her. He climbs halfway up the tree. One of his feet gets stuck and he falls a long way down. You think that's it. It takes it a second. It shows. The film does another good thing, or occasionally where anything really creepy could have happened, you see that the stream has been disconnected up to the top right, I think it is. Because you normally see like a viewer count over here, and then like live, stuff like that, and it shows that it's not. So whenever he falls from the tree, kind of unconscious, I suppose, you just see a pair of little feet land. She walks off. Like, they do horror so well, but they wrote this movie like morons. They have a car wreck and they do an awesome horror, freaking like Hereditary style fire as they are arguing, and as they're driving, Anne is trying to figure out what's going on with Angela. She's like, oh, she's bleeding, and she pulls her mask off, seeing that her mouth has been stapled 3 times. The woman then, only after this is revealed, she could have done this at any time. Maybe it's whatever is taking hold of her taking hold, but she puts her hand in and does that whole shindig of ripping the staples out. It's freaking gross. That happening, her freaking out and trying to bite Angela causes, trying to bite Annie. Freaks Stretch out. Stretch is getting kicked around by the back of his seat as he turns and hits this other car head on. Our camera refocuses to see that the groom is halfway in the front seat. Beginning to scream. And as he's trying to wake up, you hear an explosion from behind him. You hear an explosion go off behind him as he begins to scream for his life. And he gets out, checks on the other person in the car, and it's his wife in her wedding dress, dead at the wheel. There's a cheap jump scare with an airbag that goes off. Is rough. That happens. She once again, the main character doesn't act like a human being, and I'm tired of saying it, and that's probably the last time I'm gonna say it, but trying to cheer her friend up, she tries to get him to rap with her, trying to figure, I finally found something that rhymes with orange, but you gotta help me, you gotta throw, give me a lead me in, something about a syringe, orange. It's like, yes, we get it, you're a right-wing extremist. We're only on the 4th paragraph. And it's also beginning to run. Fleeing, the duo attempt to flag down a passing car for help, only for the car to have run over Stretch. The shotgun-wielding woman exits the car, revealing herself to be Angela's mother, attempting to track her down. She kidnaps Stretch and threatens to shoot him if Annie doesn't tell her where Angela is. Meanwhile, the live stream goes viral and a horde of viewers enter the chat. Annie attempts to drive away in the mother's car. Annie gets shot at, crashes the car, and is attacked. With the help of Stretch, Annie manages to trap the mother's arm and steering wheel and snap it. Distraught and desperate, Angela's mother explains that she is actually 16 years old and shows a recent photo of a young Angela with the same tattoo. However, Angela appears, rips her mother's head off, and pursues Annie and Stretch. That pretty much knocks out 90% of everything that happens there. The only thing that they left out is that while Annie is running, letting her friend Stretch, who is just hit by a car, just sit in this woman's hands she has a shotgun. She tries to steal another person's car, which this time it makes sense, is life or death. This woman's only went after you, but it's literally like that seems to be her thing now. Her thing seems to be, I steal cars, and that's everything I do. I steal cars, I don't like masks, and I'm right-wing. That's all I've gathered from this entire fucking character. She hops in the car. Woman shoots out one of her tires. She crashes into a tree. This woman is the worst driver and has the worst driving luck I've ever seen. The reveal that it's her daughter is cool until Annie sees the phone and laughs like maybe she's just... Like, it doesn't, like, she's talking shit when she's got this woman's arm trapped and wants to do an interview with her. She's like, this will be the best band stream or band car I've ever had, if that's the name of their stream. I just realized that. This will be the best band car stream that ever existed if we just get an interview. Hey, crazy lady, why do you think blah, 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 as her arm? And they do a great job with this, too. Another horror element they do so well. The mother reaches in trying to get Annie. Annie shoves her hand into the steering wheel and just turns that thing. And it breaks, and it's a violent, gross break. Blood squirts everywhere. It's a horror movie. Expect it. How Annie acts ruins so much of good horror in this movie. Angela appears. Her mother gets close to her, tries to embrace her, and tries to really get to her. And Angela just grabs her head and throws it. Final paragraph, everyone. The pair seek refuge in an abandoned fairground, but Angela quickly hunts them down and kills Stretch. Firstly, they go into the fairgrounds, and of course, it being a horror movie, they're going to find a a hall of mirrors, or a madhouse, whatever you want to call it. And within minutes of them being in this room, this house, they lose all sense of urgency and laugh and try to cheer each other up. It's not the time. And it doesn't make sense. She finds him in the mirror house, kills Stretch, throat rip, great kill, looks awesome. Annie escapes and drives away in a new car, finding a trend here. But Angela, oh, that was another good scene. We're going to talk about it real quick. As she escapes in this car again, she's just driving and finally showing no character whatsoever, which is how she should be in this moment. The camera's set so perfectly that if she's in the driver's seat here, just going about her way, her rear view, or her back window is here, and you just see freaking Angela's T-1000 running at her, and it's filmed so good and it looks so good, but it's ruined because Annie is in it. Annie escapes and drives away in a new car, but Angela, who is chasing the car, causes it to crash. Angela breaks into the car and trying to kill Annie and uses her powers to push the car into the lake. No, what happens is, at least what's shown, is the fact that Annie's driving, drops her cigarette, reaches down, and crashes into a lake. But when she crashes into the lake, you know that Angela's been following her this entire time and was T-1000 running. So it gives you that quick couple of moments of quiet before chaos happens again. She ties her up with seatbelts, and as the car begins to sit still, you see Angela kind of twitch and move as she uses her newly found psychic powers to drop this car into the lake. It's really chaotic because it's a first-person camera with someone trying to get out of a car in a lake, so it's lots of water swishing. It's really complicated to see and understand for a second. Whenever she gets out of the car, you just see Angela begin to float down out of the, float out of the water into the sky. Another excellent scene. Annie makes her way to a remote house and makes her way inside, finding the property abandoned. She breaks in to another house. As Annie celebrates her victory against Angela, she realizes that she is at the address she was originally instructed to take Angela. As soon as she realizes it, she tries to turn toward the front door as they slam immediately. She sees lots of occult symbols on the wall. She then turns to see a large group of people staring at her up close as they all slit their throats at the same time. And then suddenly Angela's there. Annie uses a knife to kill Angela, but at the same time, she puts the knife in Angela's mouth, tries to kill her, thinks she does it, and then another excellent scare. Hands shoot out of this woman's mouth, and you see a very slug-like, Annie calls it a semen monster, and like it has long arms, but you don't really see any legs, and it seems to be dragging itself. And they do such a good job of the hunt in this for about another 10 minutes before the film finally goes out. A slug-like creature bursts out of Angela's mouth and hunts for Annie. Annie uses her keyboard to beat the creature to death, exhausted from the night's event. Annie takes a break in a car as the live stream starts up again. As the viewers enter the chat, Annie starts to rap about her experience and even breaking the fourth wall, returning home. This one went on a little long because I was angry, and for that I'm sorry. The plot, let's just talk about it. Just give me 1 second of your time. This plot could have done so much better if it would have followed somebody that you actually gave a fuck about and wanted them to survive. The entire time, you should never try to vote against your protagonist the entire time. You should never hope that they die early on so you don't have to deal with them anymore. If they would have just followed Stretch's delivery through the night and had like an extra person so he can have some sort of commentary that normal people would have, this movie would have been a smash. But you follow Annie, and Annie's dog shit as a human being is just so bad. If I could do this movie in 2 halves, they'd be extremely different. But we're gonna go with the plot of this is a 4. The scares in it, there were some great ones. With the last half of the movie, there was some awesome scares. Scares can be on their own. There's 8. I'll give them an 8. The scares in this movie were so good. The threat was great too. It's another one. I'll give it a 7.5 because it's a little old woman, but she's psychic apparently and has a slug monster in her. That's great. But man, it's hard. Is this for newbies? Absolutely not. And is this recommended? If you can write your own story for this person and make them a human being, then sure, I can recommend this movie. But if you can't, I can't recommend it. Like, the horror aspects of this movie are done so well for such a low budget. It was only $100,000 is all they got to put into this film. This during the pandemic. They didn't really have a lot to do. Host was about the same. If I could, once again, watch this movie on your own and see if you agree with me. If you're worried about this right-wing propaganda that's thrown all the way throughout it, like, start halfway through and imagine that she's just playing it up for the camera. The movie never shows that that's the fact. But if you can do that, and maybe you can sit through this. The total score I gave this movie, just because that first half is just, and the main actress is just so bad, I gave it a 5 because the second half pulled it out of 3 and pulled it out of a 3, and it really did. I shit talked a lot of this movie, and I'm sorry for that. That's it for Dashcam. We got a lot of movies to cover. I hope you all had a good time listening to me rant and ramble. I hope you seek out knowledge for yourself and not just take my advice on it. We got a lot of days to go. Thank you all very much for watching. Take care. Stay scared. See you guys.